Hello and welcome. Welcome to episode 2 of your Power Packed Podlets. My name is Rachel and I'm your host on this magical journey together. So these podlets, these bite-sized mini podcasts, these are all about the stories, the insights, the frequency, the ideas, the nervous system responses of your next level of success. So here in these podcasts, I'm going to be sharing with you stories of my own personal journey. For those of you, maybe you're like me, you love to tap into the stories of the people who are going forth, walking the path, leading by example. So today is going to be a pretty intimate one. Today's going to be a pretty personal one. I'm going to be sharing some stuff with you, not only that's been coming up recently as a business owner, but also sharing some of the story of what's happened in the last few years. For those of you who maybe we've not met before, maybe this is the first time that you're connecting with me as an individual and with my business and with my brand. For some of you, you've been on this journey with me from day one, from before I became an online brand, before I became an online coach. And so you've seen what has happened. You've witnessed the growth, you've witnessed the evolution, you've witnessed the ups, the downs, the ins, the outs, how my messaging has changed, how my leadership has changed, how my income has increased. You've seen a lot of it. And then there are some of you who you've not seen any of that because you've just joined. This is all new to you. So today is really about sharing some of the journey of the last few years. And there's a really powerful reason why I was sitting down and thinking, okay, what is going to really serve my women today? What is going to serve my heart-led empathic female entrepreneurs? And this is what came through. Because I know from experience, when I first started out deciding that I was going to take my income and my business to another level, and my impact and my reach to another level, I remember seeing women who were flying high, doing really well, talking about numbers that I couldn't fathom yet of income, who had brands that really stood out, who were really confident in showing up, in speaking, in communicating the value of what they do. And I remember back then thinking there was such a huge distance between me and them. I would pedestal them and think that there was something that they were naturally, innately born with that I didn't have. There was something that they'd experienced maybe in their childhood or to do with their upbringing, something that made me different to them, that made their results unlikely, almost impossible for me to reach. And what changed the game for me was I decided not to buy into that story. I acknowledged that for me to reach that place, to have the level of confidence I could see them embodying, you know, that embodiment, when you see women embodying a really grounded belief in themselves. This is what inspired me back then. I'd see these women super grounded in their belief in themselves, going out there with all of their colors and their uniqueness and their weirdness and their humor. And I found it so inspiring. And I decided to change my narrative. And I decided to say, if they can, I can. If they are able to do that, so am I. To show up fully themselves, confidently themselves, I can too. And rather than deciding to buy into the story that there's something that they've got that I don't, I choose to look for the evidence that I can also embody that level. And so I set off on this journey, actually listening in with all of my senses to understand the nuances of these women, especially women, men as well, but especially women, because there is something about the female cycles, the female emotions, the female way of seeing the world that is, for me, was a different type of calibration. And I remember deciding to see things entirely differently. And that by getting around these types of people, I could learn so much. I would listen to what they said. I would feel what they were communicating. I would hear the nuances of the unspoken communication. I would watch. I would see them making big moves and scary things. I'd watch how they'd hold themselves. And I get into the rooms in the most intimate spaces that I could get into so as to hear the things you can only hear behind closed doors. I would get into those spaces again and again, and I continue to do this. I now get into spaces with million and multimillionaires. As I'm learning what it is, how do they move? What do they know that I don't know? How do they move in ways that I don't yet move? What are the nuances? What are the things I do resonate with and I don't resonate with? What are the ways of doing things that I see them doing that I'm like, yeah, that's a full body yes. And what are the things that are a full body no? Because it's not always about agreeing with everything in those spaces. It's the learning journey of what we do and do not resonate with, so as to gain that clarity. And so here's the piece. It's not been long since I was working 6-day weeks, split shifts, from 8 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, including Sundays. That I was running 2 businesses, where at this time when I was running 2 businesses, both of them physical, I would teach my yoga and personal training and fitness in the morning, then go off to the organic farm to do brutal work in the sunshine, to then go back and teach until late in the evening. And then I would cycle home uphill. And I was still only making a small amount above the minimum wage. And this isn't long ago at all. And so with today's Podlet, my intention for you is for you to hear that it does not need to take long for your life to change drastically. And I'm going to be sharing with you, anchoring in what is it that made that difference. Because it is so easy to say, well, yeah, okay, I get it. It can happen fast. And not actually, one, acknowledge what it takes, and two, go forth and take action and do the things that are going to make the difference. So this is me inviting you, calling you up to calibrate to that level and commit at this level. Because if what you want is results that don't make sense in a time frame that doesn't make sense, this is what makes the difference. Because it wasn't long ago that that's where I was at, and now we launched a new product in my business, brand new, in December. And by the end of May, we'd already closed nearly 90,000 euros in sales. Having gone from working insane hours running 2 businesses, one of which dried out my savings, to then being a woman who could invest and invest and invest and invest in getting into the spaces that has helped me calibrate to another level and another level and another level, having the types of conversations like the ones that we have inside the school. Talking about the things. What does success look like? How do successful people move? How do they speak? What do they believe? How does their nervous system run? What is normal for them? What is logical for them? How do they hold themselves through failure? How do they hold themselves as they do scary things and they make big moves and they do things they've never done before? What is it that makes them different to others? These are the types of conversations that we have inside the school, because it's understanding that that's going to make the difference. You understand that, and then you go out and you apply it. And this is where you can expand beyond your current paradigms. Because what you currently believe to be true and possible, unless you're in a space that questions that and helps you to see new ways of doing things, things that once you see them, you can't unsee them. You're like, wow, that's so easy and that's so logical. I'd never thought to do that. Because how can you know unless you're in the spaces that expose you to it? Talking to the people that have gone there before you, how can you know? And so this is the piece that makes the difference. Make sure that you surround yourself with the people, the ideas, and the experiences that will show you how to calibrate to your next level. That you're having the conversations, that you're receiving that support in those moments when you're feeling afraid and you're holding back from doing the things. Where are the spaces that you're leaning into to have the conversations that help you move through that fear? And go and do the things anyway and stretch yourself and get to the next level, because that's the only way you're going to get there, is by stretching yourself. And then when it comes to, we have this idea that to get better at what we do, we have to learn more. And so sometimes we will burden ourselves with learning and researching, and we'll spend so much time. We will invest so much time, and I know because I've been there, in trying to learn something on our own, rather than getting into a space where people already know it. So they can tell you one small thing, oh, tweak that. And boom, that's what makes the difference. I remember I used to try with the guesswork and the guesswork and the guesswork. So let me leave you with this. To calibrate fast, to make quantum leaps, to grow really quickly, make sure you're getting into spaces where the people in those spaces, that's normal for them. Whatever it is you're calibrating to, that for them is normal. Because there are nuances that you can only know and feel and hear and see when you get into those rooms, when you get into those conversations. So, for those of you who are actually committed to this, for those of you who are actually invested, because it's one thing to say you are, and it's another thing to actually do it. Those of you who are actually committed, what are you going to do now? How regularly are you going to do it? For those of you, and it is all about, when it comes to the conversations, the people who you're inspired by and you want to be led by, it's about choosing the ones that you really resonate with, the voice that you want to listen to. That when that person speaks, this is what I find with my coaches. When my coaches speak, I lean in and I want to listen. I hang on to every word. I'm like, oh, and then I listen back and I listen again and I hear something differently. Because when it comes to choosing the people that you want to be led by, that you want to be inspired by, the conversations you want to be having with those people, it's about choosing the ones that ignite something in you. That just by listening to them, just by being in their presence, something in you shifts. Because you do this on a regular basis, and what happens is your dominant state of being is that shift in frequency. And because that dominant state of being is a shift in frequency, you attract things at the level of the new frequency you're vibrating at. This is how manifestation works. Well, a part of it, a nuance in it. For those of you who you're listening to this, and I am that voice for you, I am that leader, that brand, that business, that woman, that female leader for you, and you see that, you feel it when you listen. You know where to find me. Working with me is a long-term commitment because I'm here for the long-term relationships. I'm here for the people who want to be committed through the ins and outs and the ups and downs. They want to be supported. I'm for you if you want the support, including when you're having time off, including when you actually step back from the support. You know I'm there. You're interested in long term, because the clients that I work with, it is long-term relationships. My clients stay with me for years and years, and our relationship builds over time. And our capacity to communicate and the intimacy in the relationship builds and builds over time. And this is what I choose for myself when it comes to what I do with my time and my life and my career. These are the types of relationships I'm interested in. So these are the type of people I call in. So if that's you, you actually want somebody to be there supporting and guiding and leading and modeling, and you want to be in a space long term, then we've got 3 levels in the school that you can join us in. Level 3, which includes all 3, is the certification to become a master coach and spiritual mentor. That also includes tier 2, which is the business mastery and money mindset, where we go over strategy, we do growth and solution-based mindset, we set up your business model, we do all of the things. We shift your relationship with money and your frequency around money so you can receive and hold more. And then you have level 1, which is also included. And this is where we get into the personal work. So how do you feel when business isn't working? How do you feel when you fail? How do you lead yourself through failure? How do you step into your next level of self-leadership? What are the programs that you are anchoring in, not just in your mind, also in your nervous system? So we recalibrate the mind, we recalibrate the nervous system for the next level of success, happiness, belief in yourself that you're ready for. Currently, as I record this, we're coming up to a price increase. So the prices in the school will be increasing July 2025, mid-month. We're going from the prices being 3,000 tier 1, 6,000 tier 2, and 9,000 tier 3 for 12 months. The prices will be increasing to 5, 10, and 15. So for those of you who you want to get in before the price increases, send me a DM. This is for us to have a conversation to find out if it's a match for you. If you already know it's a match, you know it's a full body feeling and you're like, I don't need to talk with you about it. Just send me the links, send me a DM. I'll send you the links and you can sign straight up. For those of you who you go for it straight away, there'll be some form of bonus. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Drop in the comments, what would you like me to riff on? What are the stories you're excited to hear? What are the topics that are burning in your mind right now? Drop those in the comments. Maybe we'll do a podcast on that. Sending love to you all. And I will see you in our next episode.